While connected technology is essential for unlocking new efficiencies on the production floor, it's also presented hackers with new opportunities to steal valuable IP and data. To support OT professionals in their battle with cyber criminals, we launched the Security Breach podcast. In each of our over 100 episodes, we've brought in cybersecurity specialists to provide valuable insights and break down critical topics. As a go-to podcast for our listeners, we want to help you align your brand with our expertise. By sponsoring our podcast, your brand will build trust and your message will stand out to an audience searching for tools to assist their cybersecurity efforts. Secure your share in this rapidly growing segment by sponsoring Security Breach. Contact us today to learn more. Hi, I'm Jeff Franke, Editorial Director of Manufacturing.net and Manufacturing Business Technology. Welcome to Security Breach. While I usually love to dive into all sorts of stats and reports to help illustrate the significance of the topics being covered in each episode, this time I'm going to spare you the numerous findings that paint a picture of what you get to see every single day. We all know that cybersecurity, and industrial cybersecurity in particular, is facing a huge talent deficit. Finding an individual who not only understands the technical elements of cybersecurity, but also appreciates the dynamics of keeping a manufacturing operation up and running is extremely difficult, as they need to balance security with uptime, defense with productivity, and investment with implementation timelines. Our guest for today's episode can empathize, which is why Yaniv Kapluto, the Chief Revenue Officer at Nukudo, is here to offer insight on the unique ways his company trains cybersecurity talent and works with numerous industries, including the industrial sector, to properly train and prepare individuals for a career path that demands, in his words, the precision of a Navy SEAL and the soul of a pirate. We'll discuss the skills he looks for in a candidate and how enterprises can embrace a culture that celebrates an understanding of how to break things while everyone around them is trying to build. It's my pleasure to welcome Yaniv Kapluto to Security Breach. Let's just start right at the beginning here. Let's talk a little bit about your company, Nukudo, in terms of what you guys are about and some of the interesting things you're doing in sort of preparing the cybersecurity talent for the next generation.
Yeah, thank you for. So I'll tell you a couple of words about Nukudo. Company is a sister company of a company called Red Alpha in Singapore. We're the American company and we focus on American talent and American companies. Our job is basically to identify the right people with the right aptitude for cybersecurity, those that actually fit all of the different traits that you need, and place them, train them, and place them in companies that need to protect themselves from cyber attacks. Talent is probably one of the biggest problems that the cybersecurity world have today. And we're here to solve it. We solve it in a different way than most companies will. We're not a training company. We identify the right people. There's a specific set of skills that we're looking for and specific set of capabilities. And then we'll basically launch their career.
It's really interesting. You know, I thought I saw something on the website where you only take about 1% of everybody who applies talk us through that a little bit. Why very focused, very stringent, I guess you could say?
Yeah, look, our customers trust us to protect their environment. So it's not something that we can, take any discounts on and say, hey, we're going to bring more people to make more money out of it or anything like that.
Sure.
When you're looking at cybersecurity, especially in today's world, the requirements are extremely specific. There are a lot of talented people. We meet a lot of bright people. They're just not the right profile for cybersecurity. You may say that we're looking for people that are, that can work and operate in the precision and the accuracy of a Navy SEAL, but have the soul of a pirate, right? So
okay,
that's what we're looking for.
Interesting. So, I mean, what are some of the characteristics that an applicant might think, I'm a slam dunk because I've got this going for me, but you may be hesitant or they may not be the qualifier that you would expect it to be?
Yeah, so it's interesting because this also evolves because the world is evolving. Um, we used to look at like specific capabilities on the soft skill or basically someone's EQ capabilities, right? Quantifiers, and then quantient, and then we looked at people that have high IQ and have the ability to identify uh, um, patterns, to see things that are not a pattern, to understand complex attacks, being able to analyze them, and also finding a quick solution for them. Today, with AI and the ongoing changing world, right? We're looking for another quality, which is the AQ. The basically what we're looking for is people that have the ability to adapt, people that have the ability to learn new things as they go, and to quickly identify how things are working. So basically, if you're looking at someone, we're looking for someone that on one hand is smart, maybe even possessed in solving puzzles, right, and problems. On one hand, we're looking for someone that communicated, that have the ability to communicate with people. It's a team sport, and especially in the industrial world, we'll touch it later, I'm guessing, but um, they need to understand what the business is doing and how they operate and what are the constraints, right? They can't just be robotic, decision makers. And then and that's sometimes a balance that is very hard to find, right? Someone that can do this and that. And now on top of that, we're looking for people that are quick adapters, people that can easily adapt. They're not stressed by change, maybe even people that embrace change, because it just requires all of that to be successful in these roles today.
Absolutely. I love the analogy, the operational skills of a Navy SEAL, but the soul of a pirate. What is the soul of a pirate? What does that mean to you, I guess?
You need to think, I'm like, many years ago, I heard this term of thinking out of the box, right? One of my friends told me that he doesn't understand why people get themselves in the box, right?
Okay.
So the idea is that you can't just think about the rules and policies and everything that's in front of you. Um, you know what? This is what AI do best today, right? You need to think a bit differently, right? So basically, you need to think, how would your adversaries find a way in? What are the changes that we've made recently that may expose us? What's happening in the world? You know, and then you also need to be able to go for it and explain yourself and fight for it if you believe that this is a problem. Because sometimes people may say, "Oh, that's not a problem." We've seen something like that before. So yeah, you need to be different and be willing to take some risks as well.
No, it makes sense. So, what is it like for a candidate once they get approved, once they're accepted into the program? What is the flow like? What can they expect?
So first, the screening process is multi-stage. We're looking at there's several exams or games, depending. Actually, the ones that are looking at those as games are the ones that are probably going to pass it. There's a lot
Okay.
of challenges. Then there are interviews and other stages on this process. Once you've been through that, you'll go, depending on your role, between 4 to 6 months of training. Depending on your role, you'll do the right certifications. Because if you're going to be a pen tester, you need something. And if you're going to be an analyst, you're going to look at something. We'll identify fairly quickly where you're going to be most successful. The idea is to launch careers. I'm a coach. All of our trainers are coaches, and the idea is to help our talents to be successful. They're our reputation as well. So, and then they embark on a 3 years journey where we basically add value, teach them. We're always there to support them. We actually have a community that is for both companies with experts that, if they're tasked to do something that is new, they can also, utilize that community. So basically the idea is that once they finish these 3 years, they'll be equivalent to someone that was very successful doing it for 10, 15 years. That's the idea. So it's rapid. And that's why the 1%, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you're going through, as you've developed these training, I'm sure it's an evolving curriculum, if you will, in terms of keeping pace with how things are changing out in the real world. What are some of those bigger changes that maybe you've seen take place over the last couple of years? I know in the industrial sector, it's night and day really since Colonial Pipeline in terms of people's approach to cybersecurity and some of the skill sets they're looking for. What have been some of the things you've focused on when you're looking at evolving some of that training?
So we try to, the first step, and I just been to a session of experts, cybersecurity experts and MSSPs in Dallas. All of them were amazing people. And they said that the first thing that they're looking for is for people to understand the basics, right? So we start with the basics. They need to understand network, they need to understand operating systems, cloud, and all of that in order to be able to operate. So that's the first stage, maybe. And then naturally we'll treat them the different skills, but the most important thing is to teach them how to learn quickly. Now, if you look at how the world is changing, it's changing rapidly, right? So if several years ago, everyone were moving, to the cloud and changing their environments, and if we're looking at the industrial companies, they were looking at deploying more OT. Now we have AI bots, and everything is driven. Decisions are being taken by machines, and reasoning is supporting people's decision, right? And all of those changes have cybersecurity risks in them. They're all amazing. They're all great. Now, adversaries are using AI today in order to attack faster, in order to adapt to different defense systems and attack a different way, or maybe to manipulate them into a way to think that they're not adversaries, right? And we see in cybersecurity a lot of people using similar systems to protect themselves. So if we're looking at how the world is changing, right now we're in a very, very exciting stage where everything is changing. Agentic AI is just making all of this even crazier because they automate, they make decisions, they share information. And people within our companies are also using AI. And that's another thing that we need to pay attention to. It's great if we have if they have the ability to understand how it's being used and how to support it and where to put the guardrails. Right now, it's pretty tough. So
Absolutely. No, everybody's still trying to figure that out. I think there was just such a surge of momentum and interest that people want to implement AI across their cyber platforms. Didn't really understand exactly how, just tried to make it fit. And that's creating some issues right now too.
yeah, look, I have a lot of friends in this industry. I've been doing this for 30 years, so I'm lucky to be exposed to some of that. And there are multiple ways, right? There are people right now that are planting agentic AI into the CI/CD process of companies that are developing software. What they do is they're changing the way that we were scanning code in order to identify cybersecurity risks. And they are using right now tools within the process that will challenge that code, maybe suggest the right fixes, and basically do continuous ongoing pen testing, for example, right? One of the companies I consulted to recently was building agriculture weeding robot that will go in the fields, and that robot had the ability to start the row of, let's say, I don't know, tomatoes or cabbage, started knowing something, and at the end of the row being smarter with how they treat that specific field, right? The problem is if someone manipulates this or get the data, they can ruin the crop, right? If if that's what they want to do. So, and we see more and more autonomous systems. So this is so exciting because there's so many changes. If you're aware of the risk, we shouldn't be afraid of it, right? It's actually, we need to embrace it. And that's one of the things that we teach our guys. Let's actually connect also to how companies, there is more and more AI in how in factories, in plants, and there's going to be more AI in it, and I'm sure it's going to do a lot of good. We just need to be careful of, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, and we talk about this a lot on the program, but as all this technology has exploded across the industrial landscape, it's great in terms of the efficiencies and everything else that it provides. However, it also expands that threat landscape at the same time. There's more to protect, more to defend, more possibilities with the connection points, the endpoints for the bad guys to get in. How does this factor into if you're looking to have a student that you know is maybe going to be going into the industrial sector, working for a utility or a manufacturer or something? Is that something that you focus on, or what would be something that you would do to try to help them be ready for that type of environment?
So this, we're looking at specifically like in the industrial sector, right? If we're
Yeah.
looking at factories and all that, there are three different aspects into that, and we work with our talent, to make sure that they understand that and they know how to operate within them. Again, it requires a lot of, let's say, a lot of the EQ side of the business, right? So if we're looking at a factory right now, the OT professionals, the people on the floor, they're experts, they're professionals, and their job, their mindset is, how do I keep this working? I don't want this to stop for a second. This is their problem, right? If you're looking at the IT people, what they care about is, how do people get access into data that they require? And how do I make sure that reports are being generated and the right materials are being brought to the floor? So their job is access, secure access, but access to data and making sure that this doesn't stop, right? Cybersecurity is something completely different. It requires to look at that from a different angle. So if you don't take those teams and actually you need to create a culture of cybersecurity. Everyone need to be trained about the risks. The people in the floor, they need everyone. They need to be able to identify something that is behaving differently, something that is not as it was yesterday. And they need to know, and they need to be empowered, and even, they deserve some type of a kudos, right, for reporting it, right? People need to know that this is, what we are a team and we operate together. Same goes for IT and definitely for cybersecurity. So maybe the decision sometimes in a plant won't be not to pull the plug because it can cause a disaster. And then they need to think differently on how to protect, right? How do I isolate something? How do I protect it, but without interrupting the business? And that's extremely important. It's also important, by the way, if you're looking at this in hospitals, so everything that is dependent on operational technology will have the exact same. So we teach our talent to identify that. And more than that, we will never place a talent in a company where we don't believe that talent have what it writes to be a part of the culture of that organization. So that's why when we look at people, we look for diversity. I recently talked with someone that is graduating a program right now. Did amazing certifications that professionals take years to do within 5 to 6 months, right? And I asked him, what did he do before? He was a forklifter in a pet supply warehouse. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, he's an amazing cybersecurity talent, and I'm so happy that we identified it.
Well, and a little bit of that makes sense, right? I mean, when you're working in a warehouse, you do need to be able to make decisions pretty quickly if something happens, to adjust it, always keeping safety in mind, all those things. So that's kind of an interesting parallel to what you're talking about before, and really not taking that non-traditional route and finding talent as well.
Absolutely. My dad was a builder, and I think I learned all my skills,
Yeah,
helping
absolutely.
build houses, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Well, when we look at the industrial sector, there's a couple of different challenges, and I just want to throw these at you and get your thoughts. One of them, you mentioned the IT and the OT guys. They're not working together as much as we'd like. And you brought up culture, which is something we talk about a ton here. I was so happy to hear you mention that as opposed to me beating that drum. But that is a big deal. And we have these two groups just working separately in these silos. What has been your experience in either preparing workers to enter that type of environment, or trying to arm them a little bit with ways to bring those folks together to break those silos down?
So it's interesting. Just before joining Nukudo, I spent about 2 to 3 years building culture in organizations, cybersecurity culture in organizations, right? And it have to be fun. A lot of times when we train people for cybersecurity is we sit them in front of the screen or we bring them to class and it's boring and they just want to get, just want to get out of it. No? So, and today people are looking for, the way that we get content today, even the sitcoms of the world are turning shorter and shorter. And it's like 1 minute pieces of content. So first is making sure that they get the baseline, make sure that you have all the different items. There are many ways of training people, right? Gamify it, have some fun. I did so many role plays with people, and you can have fun with these role plays as well. And team building, it's extremely important that the people that are working together will work as a team. And the role play is fun because you can switch the roles and see what happens. And once they feel the pain of someone else, once they feel that what that person needs, they're probably not going to push something to be done that is against it. So I think, and to be frank, I think that the current generation is more aligned with it,
Yeah.
So I think I'm very optimistic about building cultures today, cybersecurity cultures.
Well, I think when we're reinforcing these types of messages, and I would agree with you 100%. I've got 3 daughters, college age. They are much better at working together or seeking out those other opinions. I would agree with you there.
Absolutely.
Another interesting dynamic, if you will, here in the industrial sector is because there's been such a difficulty finding cybersecurity specialists, if you will, those OT cybersecurity specialists. There's a lot of in-house training. In other words, that automation engineer, that might be your OT security guy now. And it's good to fill the gap, and it's good to have somebody focused on it, but there's also been maybe some missteps there in terms of getting those folks ready. What have you seen as maybe some of the areas that we could get better at if we do have to train in-house, or different resources that might be out here that we don't utilize as much as we could?
Yeah. So first, it happens everywhere, right? I see software companies that are taking developers into those roles and others. And the reason for that's because there is a need.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, I find this guy. Hey, you said something smart about security. Let's make him that. And 90% of the cases, we lose on both sides, right? They're miserable because it's not where they feel comfortable. Maybe they're interested in it, but then they feel frustrated because the demand is not what they need. Most of the people having problem with dealing with the pressures as well, and basically the business is losing a very good employee that we just gave them another role. It really requires different wiring. It's like looking at people that build and people that break. We can give the people that build some idea about how people that break think and operate. We can give people that their mind is about breaking things and trying to put them together, how operational people are operating. But I think the only way to really do it right is to build teams, right? And it requires an investment a lot of times. But you know what? If you get hit or when you get hit, it's not an if question anymore, unfortunately. When you get hit, you need to have the right team to be able to minimize it, to work together calmly, and to resolve it and minimize the damage. Definitely, if you can deflect it and make sure that it doesn't happen, even better. So
No, absolutely. No, I like that point that you made there about appreciating the people who are good at breaking stuff, because that is a big part of cybersecurity, understanding that dynamic. That's probably not something a lot of manufacturers have that mindset of thinking about or appreciating. So it's a great point.
What's funny with that is like when I meet the people that founded those companies, 90% of them are breakers because you don't found a company that does exactly the same as others.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times, some of them will get it, but the team will not, right?
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the pirate side of the game.
Absolutely. Yaniv, this has been awesome. A lot of great insight here. I really appreciate it. When you look ahead a little bit, whether it's developing curriculum and training for your students or just cybersecurity as a whole, what are some of the bigger trends or issues that you're focused on going forward right now?
So right now, we make sure that they're extremely that have like their let's say their ability to adapt, their ability to learn new things, to collaborate is something that they keep on developing. It's a skill. It's not just something that you have. So that's one thing. We work a lot on communication skill, right? But when it comes to the technology side itself, right? Um, Especially with AI right now, a lot of challenges, right? I'm not sure that I'm speaking with a real person, Jeff, right now. I need to be able to identify that. I just got emails or text or something is behaving almost as normal that I think it is, right?
Yeah.
But there is something there. So that ability to identify that, that feeling that something doesn't feel wrong. Society for years is pushing us to not point out those things, but you want to point out those things in these cases, right? So we teach them that. So definitely, AI is pushing a lot of the employees, right? They'll try to impersonate other people, send phishing emails or whatever, right? So you need to. So we help our guys with understanding how did they train all the time the people around them. How did they help them identify? I can tell you that um, it's amazing. It's a great feeling when you see that someone learned something and just protected the organization. So we teach them that. The second thing is we need to keep up with the technology itself, both with like we should not be. So security teams are being hated a lot of years for stopping the business. We shouldn't stop the business. We should enable the business. So we teach them that, right? And AI is another reason. So if you are informed on AI, if you're well informed, if you use it, right, because we can use it as well, right, as cybersecurity experts, then you can make the right decision when other people are trying to use it or bring it in. Don't say no immediately. Just help them understand what the guardrails are, right? So I think we put a lot of effort in teaching them that. People that are going into industrial environments need to understand network better, need to understand, things like segmentation. uh, I can tell you horror stories. People that are, you put a lot of money
Yeah.
into segmentation, but you left something. And there is this manager, and he brings his saunas from home to work, and this is how disasters happen, right? So, yeah. So and to be frank, we also teach them to have some fun at work. So.
That's important. I mean, burnout is a big deal in cybersecurity, so having some fun is got to be a big part of just preparing them for that professional level.
Absolutely. I hate the image of the cybersecurity people like are sitting in dark rooms with red screens.
Yeah,
That's not
yeah,
the story.
yeah.
They're definitely not for our talent, right? So
Absolutely. One thing I got to ask you too, and because you mentioned like the deep fakes, and that's a big thing that's even getting into the industrial sector now. People getting into HMIs because of, well, it's easy to fake those and fake so being somebody else and get the credentials and go from there. Are there any other, I guess, new tactics or hacker approaches that you're focused on or really trying to help students pick up on as they, again, get ready to go into the field?
throughout the training, we'll bring experts with different roles as like for ask me anything kind of sessions. So people will sit in front of class and they'll answer questions. And I just did it last week and I learned a lot, right? So we do that. Some of them will be technology experts or people that are coming from vendors, security vendors. We work with a lot of security vendors to provide them talent. It's funny, some of our guys find themselves in actually customer facing roles because their communication skills are so good. So they help these organizations as well. So first is we do that. We as a team are practitioners. So we're all reading, learning, and kind of geeky about when it comes to cybersecurity. I think that's extremely important, and we also teach our talents to explore and learn. Like I just had a couple of conversations with people like talent that the company placed over a year ago, and it's so amazing to hear how many of them are doing new certifications, learning something here and there. Without us just pushing, we don't need to push because already it's there. There's a drive. For deepfake specifically, just because you asked, I've seen some amazing things. Um, um, I- but we need to remember that the adversaries today, they put more money and effort than we do, right? That's their business. Their business is attacking us. So
Yeah, we're always playing a little bit of catch up, but it feels like we're getting the length between the bad guys and the good guys is shortening all the time. It feels like with some of the new tools that are out there, and I think just the awareness, because there is more conversations about what we can do and what the bad guys are up to and all that good stuff.
yeah. Look, right now, for example, if we're looking at the world, there is there's a war going on right now,
Yeah,
and a big part of it is cybersecurity.
absolutely.
If we notice it or not, it's
Yeah,
there. All of that technology and all of those, it's a lot of people need to use their imagination. People uh, um, need ingenuity, and lucky for us, we have a lot of that. And and then all of this trickles down back to the system. This what happens right now, whatever we learn, is going to come back in a couple of years, and these talents are going to help us learn new things and protect our organizations, right? But yeah, and by the way, the adversaries shouldn't be just like adversary business. It can be states, it can be others.
yeah,
um, Everyone that doesn't really like what we do, you know, is there.
yeah. I'm sure.
Need to be careful.
Well, I think those dynamics, you talked about gamification before, you've been talking about the quick thinking and rapid change. All of those things play a big part into, being ready to go out there and do what they need to.
Absolutely. Look, I was when I was a kid. I'm aging myself now. I had to build my own PC. Right. Some people don't
Wow.
even know what PC stands for. Right.
Right.
I had to build my own thing. I remember sitting there and welding stuff and connecting stuff and modifying stuff to make something to work. Right. And it was a lot of fun building it, and it was actually more fun breaking it afterwards. So um, today, but we didn't have we had paper. The internet was not a thing, right? Today people have access to information, and with AI, this information can be also going through strainers and help us focus if we know how to use it. But we also need to understand when it's complete B, when
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
real, when it's
Hmm.
so I think this is exciting because people can learn much faster today. They just need to learn the right things. So I gotta tell you, for your audience specifically, like I think
Yeah.
where the real revolution is happening is in the industrial side. It's in the fields. That technology today, if you add robotics and you add AI to it, and you add smart networks and Starlink today, where all of these
Yeah.
can talk together, this is amazing. Like we can sit in front of computers and develop software. So I think they're actually in the most exciting, most innovative era right now for hundreds of years. And I think that our talent's job, my job, is to make sure that they can do it without interference. Uh, but it's yeah, I think it's a great time. I'm sure that they think about those things.
Well, keep it up, man, because we definitely need those folks out there on the front lines. So, hey, the one last question I had is with the training programs, is it virtual? Is it on site? How many hours a day does that consume for the average
It's so
participant?
we basically, the second they go through the screening, we give them an offer. We hire the talent, right?
Okay.
And it's like squeezing 3 years into 6 months or 4
Wow.
months. It's a lot. Everything's hands-on. They actually touch real systems. I took someone that didn't. I just talked with a customer, someone that never did cybersecurity in their life, have some scripting background or something like that, but have the right aptitude, right, and the right set of mind. Went through the process. I talked with one of our customers, and I asked him, how long does it take you to onboard our guys, and in total, how long does it take you? And it was funny. He said that it took him about 2 months, maybe a week longer than what it will take him to take someone that has been doing it for 3 or 4 years. But but this guy already passed them. So this guy, for example, right now is the lead of the team, right? Again, because they came in with a very we equipped them with a lot of weapons, right? But the most important one is the one that they can quickly learn and adapt. And that's something that, so yeah, it's in the class, it's rigorous. Um and and the best ones will go home, and they'll keep on doing the puzzles because they enjoy it, and they'll keep on building and doing their tasks and then invent new things. So they're employees, not students, and we give them the right incubator to do it. You can't do it remotely. It also needs the interaction. We watch the interaction a lot between them and how they learn from one each other. Because when they go out of the field to their different tasks, we want them to feel comfortable asking one each other. It's like building a unit, in the military. That's exactly what they are.
Thanks, Yaniv. And for more information on the company's tactics and processes, you can check them out at Nukudo.com. I'd also like to thank you for joining us, and to catch up on past episodes, you can go to manufacturing.net, IEN.com, or MBTmag.com. You can also check Security Breach out wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Amazon, and Overcast. And if you have a cybersecurity story or topic that you'd like to have us explore on Security Breach, you can reach me at jeff@IEN.com. For Yaniv Kapluto, I'm Jeff Ranke, and this is Security Breach.